Have you ever felt lonely in a room full of people? If you're highly intelligent, this feeling isn't weakness, it's the cost of seeing the world too clearly. Loneliness is often misunderstood. People assume it comes from being unpopular, socially awkward, or isolated. But for many highly intelligent people, loneliness exists even when they are surrounded by others. They have friends, they have conversations, they have social lives, yet deep inside, there is a quiet distance they cannot explain. This is where silent intelligence comes in. Silent intelligence is not loud. It doesn't dominate conversations or seek attention. It observes, it listens, it thinks before it speaks. And in modern society, especially in the fast-paced, extrovert-driven culture of the United States, this kind of intelligence often feels invisible. Highly intelligent people tend to process the world differently. While others speak to fill silence, intelligent minds use silence to understand. They notice patterns in behavior. They sense emotional shifts in conversations. They read between the lines, what is said, what is avoided, and why. Over time, this deep awareness creates a gap between them and most people, and that gap feels like loneliness. In American culture, confidence is often measured by how loudly you speak, how quickly you respond, and how well you sell yourself. Small talk dominates social spaces, work meetings, parties, even friendships. But intelligent individuals crave meaning, not noise. They want conversations that explore ideas, values, fears, and purpose. When those conversations rarely happen, they feel unseen. Psychologically, intelligent people experience something called cognitive mismatch. Their depth of thinking doesn't easily align with surface-level interactions. When they try to share a complex idea or a nuanced emotion, they are often met with confusion, jokes, or disinterest, so they slowly stop trying. They become quiet, not because they have nothing to say, but because they've learned that most people aren't really listening. This is why intelligent people often feel loneliest in groups. In a room full of people, they may notice who is pretending to listen, who is waiting to speak, who is masking insecurity with confidence. While others enjoy the social energy, the intelligent person feels detached, watching the room like an outsider. Another reason intelligent people feel lonely is emotional depth. They don't just feel emotions, they analyze them, they question them. They try to understand where they come from and what they mean. This makes relationships more intense for them. They seek authenticity, honesty, and emotional intelligence. But many people prefer comfort over truth. So the intelligent person learns a painful lesson. Being understood is rarer than being liked. In the US, where productivity, hustle, and optimism are constantly promoted, deep thinkers often feel out of place. They question systems, they reflect on meaning, they're comfortable with uncertainty. But society rewards quick answers, not thoughtful pauses. This creates internal conflict. The intelligent person starts to feel like they're living slightly out of sync with the world. Loneliness also comes from high self-awareness. Intelligent people are more aware of their own flaws, contradictions, and limitations. They don't easily escape into illusions. While others distract themselves with noise, scrolling, or constant activity, intelligent minds sit with their thoughts. And when those thoughts are heavy, loneliness becomes louder. Yet silent intelligence is not a weakness. It is a form of strength that often goes unrecognized. Many of history's most influential thinkers, creators, and innovators experienced deep loneliness, not because they rejected people, but because they saw the world differently. They needed fewer connections, but deeper ones, and those are rare. If you are someone who feels lonely despite being capable, thoughtful, and aware, there is nothing wrong with you. Your loneliness is not a failure of social skill. It is often the cost of depth in a shallow world. The truth is, intelligent people don't need many people to feel fulfilled. They need one or two who truly understand them. Someone who listens without rushing. Someone who values silence as much as speech. Someone who isn't threatened by depth. Until they find that, intelligent people often walk alone, not lost, but searching. And maybe that quiet loneliness is not a sign that you don't belong. Maybe it's a sign that you're meant for deeper connections than most. Most intelligent people don't feel lonely because they are rejected. They feel lonely because they don't blend. From the outside, they look normal. They go to work, attend social events, laugh at the right moments, and say the right things. But internally, they often feel like they're playing a role in a world that doesn't quite speak their language. This quiet disconnect is one of the main reasons intelligent people struggle to fit in, especially in modern American society. In the US, fitting in often means moving fast, talking fast, thinking fast, deciding fast. Confidence is rewarded more than contemplation. Simplicity is praised over nuance. In this environment, intelligent people who naturally think deeply, question assumptions, and pause before responding can feel out of rhythm with everyone else. Psychologically, this comes down to depth versus speed. Highly intelligent minds are wired to analyze. They don't just accept ideas, they explore them. They don't just follow trends, they question them. While others are comfortable with shared opinions and social scripts, intelligent people notice the flaws, contradictions, and oversimplifications hiding underneath. This makes casual agreement difficult, and fitting in requires a certain level of conformity. So, instead of pretending, they stay quiet. Another reason intelligent people don't fit in is their discomfort with social performance. Many social spaces in America, networking events, workplaces, even friendships, reward image over authenticity. You're expected to sell yourself, exaggerate confidence, and keep things positive. Intelligent people often see through this performance. They sense when conversations are transactional rather than real. That awareness creates distance. They don't enjoy small talk, not because they're antisocial, but because it feels empty. Asking "how are you" without wanting the real answer feels dishonest. Laughing at things that aren't funny feels exhausting. Over time, intelligent people begin to feel like observers in social situations rather than participants. This leads to another psychological factor: value mismatch. Intelligent people tend to value meaning, integrity, and depth. Many mainstream environments value popularity, productivity, and status. When your internal values don't align with external rewards, fitting in feels like self-betrayal. So, intelligent people often choose isolation over pretending to belong. And isolation slowly turns into loneliness. There's also the burden of heightened awareness. Intelligent individuals are more sensitive to social dynamics. They notice power games, hidden motives, and emotional undercurrents that others overlook. While this insight can be useful, it also makes social interaction heavier. It's hard to relax when you see what's really happening beneath the surface. This is why intelligent people often feel most out of place in groups. Group dynamics tend to favor consensus and simplicity. Deep thinkers, on the other hand, live in nuance. When they challenge ideas or ask uncomfortable questions, they're often labeled as too serious, overthinking, or negative. Eventually, they stop contributing, not because they agree, but because they're tired of being misunderstood. In American culture, individuality is celebrated in theory, but conformity is often expected in practice. Intelligent people feel this contradiction deeply. They're told to be themselves, yet subtly pressured to think, speak, and behave in acceptable ways. The more self-aware they are, the harder it becomes to ignore this pressure. So they don't fit in, not because they can't, but because they won't shrink themselves to do so. Loneliness, in this sense, becomes a byproduct of self-respect. But not fitting in doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It often means you're wired for different conversations, different values, and different connections. Intelligent people don't need to fit into crowds. They need to find environments and people that allow depth without judgment. If you've ever felt like you're slightly out of sync with the world, like you're always adapting instead of belonging, you're not broken. You're just tuned to a frequency most people don't hear. And maybe fitting in was never the goal. Maybe finding where you truly belong is.
One of the least talked about reasons intelligent people feel lonely is not their mind, but their emotional depth. They don't just think differently, they feel differently. And in a society like the United States, where emotions are often simplified, rushed, or hidden behind positivity, this depth can become isolating. Intelligent people experience emotions in layers. When something happens, they don't just feel happy, sad, or angry. They explore why they feel that way. They trace emotions back to their roots. They sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. Psychologically, this is linked to higher emotional intelligence and self-awareness, but it comes with a cost. That cost is loneliness. In American culture, emotional expression is often kept light. You're expected to stay positive, move on, and not overthink. Deep emotions are sometimes labeled as weakness, negativity, or drama. For intelligent people, this creates an internal conflict. They want to share what they feel, but they sense that most people don't want to go there, so they hold it in. Intelligent people crave emotional honesty. When they ask, "How are you?" they actually mean it. They want real answers, not automatic ones. But most social interactions don't allow that level of truth. Conversations stay on the surface: work, entertainment, achievements. Emotional depth doesn't fit neatly into these spaces. This leads to emotional loneliness, the feeling of being surrounded by people who know your name, but not your inner world. Another psychological factor is intensity. Intelligent people often feel emotions more intensely because they understand them more deeply. Love feels profound. Disappointment cuts sharply. Empathy runs strong. They don't easily detach from emotional experiences. While others distract themselves, intelligent individuals replay moments, analyze words, and reflect on meaning. This makes relationships powerful, but also painful. In the US, independence is highly valued. People are taught to be self-reliant, emotionally strong, and private. Intelligent people respect independence, but they also recognize that emotional connection is essential. When they seek depth in relationships, they're sometimes seen as too much or too serious, so they learn to dim their emotional light. There's also the issue of emotional mismatch. Intelligent people often connect best with others who have similar emotional awareness. Without that, conversations feel unbalanced. One person shares deeply, the other deflects or changes the subject. Over time, the intelligent person stops opening up, not because they don't feel, but because they've learned it's rarely safe. This is why many intelligent people feel loneliest at night. When distractions fade, emotions surface, thoughts become louder, questions about purpose, connection, and meaning rise to the surface, and because they can't easily share these thoughts, they carry them alone. Yet emotional depth is not a flaw, it's a rare capacity in a fast, distracted world. Emotionally deep people are the ones who truly listen. They remember what you said months ago. They sense when something is wrong, even if you smile. They offer presence, not just advice. But because their emotional needs are rarely met at the same level, they often feel drained rather than fulfilled. In American society, where efficiency often outweighs empathy, emotional depth can feel like a burden. But it is also what makes intelligent people capable of deep love, creativity, and insight.
If you've ever felt like your emotions don't fit the world around you, like you feel more than you can explain, you're not broken. You're emotionally awake in a world that prefers emotional sleep. And loneliness, in your case, isn't emptiness. It's the space created when depth has nowhere to land. The right people won't ask you to be less emotional. They'll meet you there.
The truth about loneliness and intelligence is uncomfortable, and that's why it's rarely talked about. Intelligent people are not lonely because they are socially incapable, unlikable, or emotionally cold. They are lonely because they see the world more clearly, and clarity changes everything. In the United States, loneliness is often framed as a personal failure. If you feel alone, you're told to socialize more, be more confident, or put yourself out there. But for intelligent people, the problem isn't access to people, it's access to understanding. The deeper your awareness, the harder it becomes to feel at home in shallow spaces. Highly intelligent people recognize patterns most people miss. They see how conversations are driven by ego, fear, or validation. They notice how opinions shift with trends. They sense when optimism is forced and when confidence is performative. This level of perception makes it difficult to fully relax socially because you're constantly aware of what's happening beneath the surface. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. This is the first truth. Intelligent people don't struggle to connect, they struggle to pretend. In American culture, pretending is often part of fitting in. You're expected to be upbeat, agreeable, and certain. But intelligent people live comfortably with doubt. They ask questions instead of repeating answers. They challenge narratives instead of accepting them. While others bond over shared beliefs, intelligent minds often stand slightly apart, not because they disagree, but because they see complexity. That complexity can feel isolating. Another hard truth is that intelligent people value quality over quantity. They don't need many relationships, they need meaningful ones. But meaningful connections take time, emotional maturity, and mutual depth. In a culture driven by speed, productivity, and instant gratification, those connections are rare. So intelligent people often find themselves surrounded, yet alone. There's also the truth about self-awareness. Intelligent individuals are more aware of their own contradictions, insecurities, and limitations. They don't hide easily behind identity or social labels. While others find comfort in belonging to groups or ideologies, intelligent minds question even the things they believe. This makes them harder to place and harder to relate to. Loneliness also comes from integrity. Intelligent people are less willing to compromise their values just to be accepted. They won't fake enthusiasm. They won't echo opinions they don't agree with. They won't simplify themselves to make others comfortable. And in a society that rewards conformity more than honesty, this choice has a social cost. The truth is, many intelligent people are lonely because they refuse to be smaller than they are. In the US, where success is often measured by visibility and influence, intelligent people who prefer depth over attention can feel invisible. They're not competing for the spotlight, they're searching for meaning, and that search is often solitary. But here's the part no one tells you. Loneliness doesn't mean you're failing at life. Sometimes it means you're growing beyond the environments that once fit you. Intelligent people often outgrow social circles, workplaces, and even relationships, not because they think they're better, but because they're changing internally. And growth is lonely. The final truth is this: intelligent people are not meant to belong everywhere. They are meant to belong deeply, not widely. Their loneliness isn't a flaw in their personality, it's a signal that they need spaces where curiosity is welcomed, silence is respected, and depth is valued. If you feel lonely despite being thoughtful, capable, and aware, you're not broken. You're just living honestly in a world that often rewards performance over truth.
And maybe loneliness, in your case, isn't the absence of people. Maybe it's the absence of people who truly see you.